everybody. Welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what other movies may have inspired it. And today we're going to be looking at Sicario, Day of the Soldado. But before we get into that, we got a few things I want to talk about at the top of the show here. And of course, first and foremost, if you're not subscribed to Piecing It Together yet, please make sure you get subscribed. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. We're on pretty much every podcast app, so make sure you're subscribed. Also, you could rate and review us on iTunes. You could send us some feedback directly to my email, bydavidrosen@gmail.com, or tweet at us at PiecingPod. Also, make sure to check out our Facebook group, Piecing It Together, a movie discussion group. We've been having a lot of great conversations in there. We want to get all of you involved in those conversations. And as usual, I definitely want to ask for your feedback. We want to know how you're enjoying the show, what you're thinking about the different puzzle pieces we describe, and all the different movies we get into and all that. And by the way, if you hear my cat walking around, I can't seem to get her out of this room, no matter how hard I try. She's literally rubbing on the mic right now, and it's probably going to cuss all kinds of feedback, but there's no getting around it. So I'm sorry. We'll just work with what we got here. But anyway, yeah, we got a great show today, and we got a few episodes already in the works that will be coming to you in the next few weeks. So of course, please get subscribed so you'll be the first to find out about these. Also, we've been doing a lot of cross promotion with a bunch of different podcasts and stuff like that. And it's been a lot of fun. You could check me out on the Podscure podcast. Talked about Piecing It Together, about our other podcast, Bird Road, also about my music and a bunch of other stuff. It was a really great conversation. And I have a few other guest appearances lined up. I'll let you know about those once they're up. But I'm having a lot of fun being on all these different podcasts, so it's always fun. And I love doing this podcast. I love doing Bird Road, but it's great to be on other ones too, because get to talk about all kinds of other stuff and see how they do it. It's fun. So, with that said, I guess we should get into today's episode. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Sicario, Day of the Soldado, which is the sequel to Sicario, which was one of the best movies probably of this past decade. I mean, seriously, a phenomenal movie, and probably a movie that didn't need a sequel. But here we are, and we've got one. This time we do not have the director, Denis Villeneuve. We do not have Emily Blunt. We do not have Johan Johansson, rest in peace, but one of the best scorers in recent memory. Amazing score. We do not have Roger Deakins, cinematographer. But we do still have the writer, Taylor Sheridan. We do still have Benicio del Toro. We do still have Josh Brolin. And we do still have an incredibly bleak movie set with the Mexican drug cartels and the Mexico-Texas border, and a lot of really dark action. And there's a lot to love about this movie as far as I'm concerned. And, we're going to get into it. Here on the show, I'm talking with returning co-host Chad Clinton Freeman, who has been absent from the show for a few weeks, but I'm glad to have him back, and we actually have a few more episodes together coming up. So hope you enjoy it. Let's get to it. All right, well, back with us again for the first time in a while is our buddy Chad Clinton Freeman on an episode of Piecing It Together. Chad, how you doing?
Hey, Dave, how's it going? I am doing good. Excited to get back into this. It has been actually I've had a couple of things going on with a new job and a moving house, and so I hadn't seen a lot of movies lately. But I'm glad to get back to seeing some movies and get back on the show and try to come back more regularly now. So.
Awesome. Well, speaking of regularly, we're actually recording 2 episodes back to back today, but that's a little inside baseball for everybody. I don't know when I'll be putting up each one, but we'll see what happens. But I'm glad to have you back, and I'm glad to be talking about Sicario, Day of the Soldado. Soldado? Yeah, it's Soldado, right?
I was going to say before we got too heavy into this, yeah, there are a lot of like words that are Spanish that might come up, like soldado, soldado, however you say it, and I'm
Benicio del
sure I'm saying
Toro.
yeah, and I'm sure I'm saying them all wrong. So I just want to
Forgive
get that
us, everybody out
right,
there.
yeah, right off the bat.
We will do our best, we promise. But yeah, Sicario Day of the Soldado, the sequel to Sicario, a movie that very much did not need a sequel. But
Mm-hmm.
here we are. And I would say to varying degrees of success, we now have a continued story, but kind of a side story, but in some ways continued. But we'll get into it as we, continue getting into these puzzle pieces and all that. Um, but before we do jump in, I do think we should let the listeners know that you actually saw this movie quite a long time ago.
Yeah, I saw it last year, and I think it was actually toward the beginning of last year,
Yeah, it was like
even. Yeah,
March or something, like February,
yeah.
March.
It was a test screening for this. You were supposed to go, and
I
something happened. You
was.
couldn't, and you couldn't make it. At the time, I believe the name of the movie was just Soldado. They had
Mhm,
gotten rid of all the Sicario mentions, and and it changed a couple times since then because it was Sicario 2 at one time.
mhm.
But yeah, so and I haven't rewatched it, so I there will be some things that will be a little fuzzy when I am talking about the movie, and some things may have changed since I did see the movie because it was a test screening, and they asked for the feedback and all of that stuff on the movie, and I personally didn't really like it, but that's okay. I did really love the first movie.
Mhm.
And I do. There are some things in here that I do enjoy, but yeah, not to get too deep into that. It has been a while since I've seen it, but I think I'm still good to go on this because there were several movies that did come to mind as I was watching it.
Good, good. Yeah, and speaking of the first movie, while this is a very different movie from Sicario, I do think that there are a lot of shared influences between the two.
Hmm.
So I think some of the movies that we might end up bringing up right now may be things that could certainly have applied to Sicario if we had been doing piecing it together back then when that came out.
Yeah. No, I'd
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, especially the main influence that I was going to bring up, which I can go ahead and go first if
Yeah, you might as well.
that's
Let's
okay.
let you do the
Okay.
first puzzle piece.
Okay, so and actually, and I've done this before, but the first puzzle piece, and instead of just mentioning one of the movies, because the more I thought about it, several movies did come to mind. It is
Hmm.
Catherine Bigelow.
Hmm.
She several of her movies, specifically Zero Dark 30. Um,
Hmm.
that one I felt was a influence of this one, and like you said, yeah, I felt like that was an influence for Sicario as well. And I feel like that, well, and not only that one, The Hurt Locker, and also even Detroit. I just feel like that those recent movies that she's done, the gritty and dark, and a lot of like really gray moral areas going
Hmm.
on, and I felt like that this one really was trying to be like one of those movies. It was trying to be like a Catherine Bigelow movie. I personally didn't feel it succeeded in that, but
Hmm.
it's really, I mean, specifically Zero Dark 30. The thing that with Zero Dark 30, though, that I feel like that for me saved that movie um, was one that there was the truth that the story was based on. Uh,
Hmm.
and then, of course, the main character in that movie, which again, this one was missing Emily Blunt from the first one, which I feel was a very,
Exactly.
very
Yeah.
hard thing to move forward with this movie. And I think that just the fact that she wasn't there made me not like the movie. right off the bat. But then also that really took away the and I read that the director, he felt this as well. She not having her character in the movie took away the moral compass of the movie.
I was
Uh,
about to bring that exact point up. Yeah, that he specifically said that,
right,
and
right.
I don't know if he meant it as a good thing or not, but it's
He
absolutely true.
yeah, he meant it as a good thing. I do believe, because that's what he was going for. Uh,
Yeah,
but for me,
I mean it's his movie.
yeah, for me that very much hurt it. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, Zero Dark 30. I mean, very much so, with not just some of the interrogation tactics and things like that they go on in it, but also just the darkness and the grittiness and the just
sure.
the ugliness of what is going on. So
Exactly. Yeah. I actually had the Hurt Locker as one of mine. So yeah, I totally agree. The grittiness, the realness of war, the not shying away from just how awful and violent everything is when you're at war. A funny thing though is that once the movie really gets going, it kind of drops that angle. Like that's kind of the setup for everything, for the tone, for the setting, for showing what Josh Brolin's character has been up to, since the
right.
first Sicario. But but yeah, I mean that eventually isn't really what the movie is about, but it absolutely has that parallel because of the feel of it and everything like that. Also, another thing we were just talking about before the show started about some of the differences since you had seen it at that test screening.
Hmm.
There was that scene in the grocery store. Obviously, spoiler alert. We talk spoilers on the
Right, right.
show. But there's a very very graphic suicide bomber scene in a grocery store, which was like very very intense and very disturbing and pretty shocking way to start the movie. And you said that you don't recall that even being in your test screening
Well,
when you saw it.
Well, the scene was there, but it didn't
Mhm.
go, like, it didn't show it didn't show what I had read that reviews were saying.
Gotcha.
Like in the reviews, it said there was a moment with a mother and a daughter, and it just like really puts you into that moment,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's very very intense scene and really hits you hard. Now, when I saw it, that didn't happen. You just saw the guys go into like the supermarket, and they did the bombing, but there was nothing like that really like
Gotcha.
pushed it home in that way, or made you really feel anything intense about that scene.
Right.
It was very just very bland.
Right. Just an explosion in an action movie kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
mean, that could have maybe changed the tone of the movie, and changed the way that I did view the movie. But like I said,
Would have
I
just made it even
remember.
darker. That's all.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a possibility. Well, see, because that's the thing, is that what I was reading is that people were saying that moment really made them feel like, okay, something has to be done. There has to be revenge, and this has to get ugly. So it really put you into that mindset, and
Mm.
that wasn't really the mind. I never got into that mindset. My mindset was just like, it just is. This felt like a low budget action movie, very much for me.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
I could see that. I could see that.
but yeah, I mean, they may have punched things up a bit
Mm.
since I did see it, and that scene specifically, because yeah, I do not remember that scene going that far. So
Okay. Well, sticking with the darkness and the bleakness of the world as it is right now, and America specifically, and the Texas Mexico border specifically, my first puzzle
hmm
piece actually applies to both Sicario and Sicario Day of the Soldado, which is No Country for Old Men. Um,
that was one that I also had thought of.
You had that one too, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just that bleakness, that hopelessness of just how bad things are, but also on another level, because that I think is kind of pretty obvious, especially for anyone who's seen Sicario, and plus with Josh Brolin is in both movies, but
Right.
On another level, I kind of, especially with this one, I kind of look at Benicio del Toro's Sicario character as like a hero version of Javier Bardem's Anton Chigurh. They're they're both these
Yeah,
just
I see
like
that.
weird, like unstoppable forces that like there's no killing. They're going to get out of any and every situation. They're going to kill everything that gets in their way. Like they're basically invincible. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I think they're like kind of two sides of a coin.
Yeah, no, I get that totally. Which is funny because the what you mentioned about how the bleakness of basically the overall feeling that kind of the country has
Mhm.
is sort of where this film and the type of film that it is and the feeling that it has, where it's coming from,
Yeah.
and where the energy that No Country for Old Men and the three that I thought of that, and they were all along the same time,
Mhm.
was No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, and The Dark Knight. They all had this very much this bleakness, this very like anger, and also just like kind of hostility about them and meanness in a way. And
Sure.
those really kind of came from, you know, the George W. Bush and the
Right,
whole
right.
Middle East, Iraq, and all of that stuff that was going on. And in a way, you know, maybe this is the Trump version of that, and maybe we will see more, you know, movies that are more along the lines of this one,
Yeah.
which was funny because I didn't like any of those three movies, and I don't like this movie either.
Three incredible movies that Chad doesn't like.
Well, but also speaking on that in that same way. Okay, so we go back and you think about the Catherine Bigelow movies.
Mhm.
Hers were more from the Obama years,
Mhm.
especially Zero Dark 30 and The Heart Locker. So they were more looking at these situations, but not necessarily, I don't think, with the same amount of hostility and bleakness.
Sure.
And they were more judging actually the people that are doing the things as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this one is that's one of the, again, that moral compass is where what's missing from it totally. It's like it's a total non judging anything that happens,
Yeah.
and it's almost like there's no. I mean, there's a little bit of a redemption, I feel, in a way, especially for Benicio's character.
Mhm.
But for the most part, there isn't a whole lot of redemption to be
Yeah.
found in the whole movie. And so yeah, I mean, the parallel to No Country for Old Men, I think, is a great one. And and yeah, I totally see that, and totally am just not a fan of those type of movies, I guess.
I guess. Well, just to continue, I was going to save this one for later, but just to continue with what you were just talking about,
Hmm.
I also had written down Donald Trump's America. And
Right.
I'm certainly not going to say I'm not a fan of Trump, but I'm not going to sit here and blame everything on Trump. I'm not going to blame the entire situation in the United States and everything happening with the border and Mexico and everything on him alone. But
Right. Right.
certainly things are elevated right now. Certainly
Hmm.
things are worsening, and there is just so much negativity in this country. And I think that this is exactly a movie that's going to be born out of that.
Right.
We've always said that there's going to be a lot of movies based on like, oh, we don't want Trump elected, but there's going to be great movies and music, and this,
Right.
it's debatable whether this is a great movie, but regardless, this is certainly one of those kind of movies that's going to come out of this time and this administration.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Which is funny brings me to the other puzzle piece that I was gonna bring up, and again, I'm gonna say it totally wrong. I know the movie that came out. I can't remember if it actually came out in 2015. I know it was a 2015 movie. It maybe came out in 2016.
Mm.
Desierto, however you say it, the Gael Garcia Bernal
Desierto?
and Jeffrey. Yeah, that's the one.
Desierto. Yeah. I always wanted to see that. I never got around to seeing it. Yeah.
Okay, so that one was more of a thriller, like more of a straight up kind of, well, it turned into one, but it had a lot of parallels to this one because, of course, it was about some Mexicans that were crossing over the border and getting into the country illegally. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays this crazy guy who's basically stalking them and gunning them down.
I don't believe it. Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing that? I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So it really turns into a survival kind of movie, which I love those kind of movies. But there were some moments in this one where the just some of the things that you're shown about getting onto this bus and then getting onto this truck and doing all these different things of the traveling of them going across the border. A lot of those things in this movie were like almost exactly the way they were in that movie as well.
Oh, cool.
So very much. Again, not even that film influenced it in that regard, but that they're both kind of dealing with the same thing, and obviously there's a little bit of truth there in the way the workings are of the crossing the border illegally and whatnot. So
this is gonna make me sound like such a white boy, but I found all that really interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The realism of how that was portrayed, and I'm assuming it was pretty real. I mean, it seems like the kind of movie that would have done it the right way, the real way. And yeah, I found it all very interesting the way that they portrayed it.
I do agree, and I think that I may have enjoyed it more. I may have had more interest in it had I not seen that movie before this. So I think that brought down some of that interest that I had in it. It was more along the lines of, oh, well, this is just like that movie, as opposed to, hey, this is something I hadn't seen before.
I still need to see that movie. Yeah, it looked really good. I gotta see it.
It's good. It's not great, but I mean, I enjoy it. Of course, I mean, it's got those two guys are great actors. And then also, like I said, I like survival type movies, and that's essentially what it turns into, is a survival movie.
Sure.
This one, this is one that was I felt kind of turned into almost a Robert Rodriguez movie in a way, with the double cross this person and all of those kind of, there are two different types of movies that do these, the double crossing and whatnot. You've got the big time Hollywood movies that like Ridley Scott does and has like Leonardo DiCaprio in it. And then you've got like Robert Rodriguez. And this one felt to me more in line with the Robert Rodriguez. And in fact, you were talking about how Del Toro's character was like this invincible kind of almost superhero in a way.
Yeah.
I felt like this went into almost like Desperado territory with that.
Yeah.
Not quite Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, but I kind of felt that.
You know what though? I'm gonna write Desperado on this overall list because I hadn't thought of it, but I seriously, with that character, with that just invincible gun-toting character, I think I'm going to add it to the list.
I can totally see like the third in this trilogy going that direction. Like all of a sudden it's, like Desperado. I can totally see that. In fact, they ought to just get Rodriguez to direct the third one.
Sure.
And see what happens.
So Desierto is a great setup for my next one, another Alfonso Cuarón movie, Children of Men, which
Okay.
again a similar like visceral,
Hmm.
very gritty feel, but also about transporting a young girl across
Hmm.
war torn territory, and obviously very different stories, but yeah, I think the feel and plot like definitely bring both of these movies to a certain parallel. I think
Yeah,
between
no, definitely. Yeah, that was a good one. I didn't even think of that one. Again, it's another one I don't like.
You don't like Children of Men? I
Yeah,
loved it when it
I
came out. I haven't seen it since like the theater when it first came
right.
out, but yeah, I
I
loved
don't,
it
I
though.
don't, I don't like hate it. Like No Country for Old Men. That was one that I really totally was just like did not like. I
Mm.
didn't have that reaction to it, but obviously I'm not even though I'm like a fan of like I say gritty movies, but not this kind of like
Right, yeah.
gritty kind of movies. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally see that parallel, and also it's funny. This is like the one episode where I'm just like totally everything. I'm like, yep, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that.
Hilarious. Yeah, well, sometimes it's got to happen. I mean, yeah, it's got to happen once in a while.
But I had one other puzzle piece actually.
Mhm.
One that this reminded me of was actually a movie that from the '80s. It was a movie with Jack Lemmon called Missing. Which I actually saw at the theater when it came out. I was like a pretty young when I saw it. I don't remember. Like I remember I went with the neighbor down the street. Like his parents would like drop us off in the movies, and we could go to movies. Like my parents didn't do that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
we went and saw this movie Missing. I don't know. I guess he picked it. It's totally not a movie for kids because it's like about a journalist that's in Chile, and this is like in the late '60s, and he gets kidnapped, and he's his dad, which Jack Lemmon plays, comes over and is looking for him, and it's just like a very dark and miserable and like depressing movie about this dad searching for his son, and he never does find him. And actually, I remember at the time when I saw it at the theater, I actually fell asleep in the movie. And then we actually stayed because they actually let you do that in those days. We stayed the second time to rewatch it because we were waiting on his dad to come pick us up. And we actually fell
Nice.
asleep. We fell asleep again during the movie, and his dad and his dad came in and woke us up. So anyway, this movie, there was something about it that just reminded me of that movie, and just like it made me remember have these memories of this movie Missing, which I did re-watch back in I guess like 2014 or so. I actually rewatched it because my dad had it on DVD, and my
Oh
dad
yeah.
like had everything on DVD when I was going through his stuff, and he was like, pick out a movie. So I picked out Missing because I was like, I saw this at the theater and fell asleep, and so we put it on, and I fell asleep watching it. So so
That's hilarious.
anyways, I don't know what to take of that, but this reminded me of Missing.
Interesting. I have not heard of that movie. It sounds like a good one to take a nap during, but or it could be good.
Yeah, it's just it's just a dark and kind of just gritty and just kind of dreadful kind of movie. That's
Sure.
all. And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I mean, it's totally like this one. It's totally this is like the not feel good movie of the summer for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though, and we'll get to it at the end, even though I liked it more than you did, I would totally agree with that statement. Definitely.
Right.
So I have two more puzzle pieces. So
Okay.
I'll jump in my next one here, which is late era Mel Gibson movies. And I mean specifically
Hmm.
Mel Gibson, the actor. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
talking like Edge of Darkness and Bloodfather, and I'm pretty sure there was one other. I could bring up IMDb, but I'm not going to bother. But I think there was one other one that he did over the last like decade or so. But yeah, those kind of just they feel like a little better than a crap action movie. You know what I mean? They're like
Right, right.
they have something because of the talent involved in the acting side of things that really
Hmm.
kind of brings it out and makes it more than just a run of the mill action movie. And I think that both Josh Brolin and Benicio del Toro, I mean, they really bring it in this, regardless of what the point of it is, and regardless of the bleakness of it, and regardless of whether or not even it has any reason to exist, this particular movie, they really bring it, both of them, and that kind of acting that really elevates these kind of otherwise just run-of-the-mill action movies. I think Mel Gibson's movies really tend to uh, embody that kind of a spirit.
Totally. I didn't think of that, but I totally get what you're saying. And Get the Gringo, was that the other one you were thinking of?
Oh,
Um,
maybe, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
That one, yeah,
Because actually,
absolutely,
I actually love that movie.
right on.
But yeah, totally. Because like how again, I did say that to me, this one felt like a very kind of generic like action movie. Kind of feels like a straight to straight. I say straight to DVD still. At least I've upgraded from straight to VHS. But I know straight to digital or whatever you want to call them these days. But non-theatrical action movies. But you're right. The acting in it is still top notch. It definitely does
Yes,
elevate it to a certain degree with the acting that these guys are doing. And I do get that parallel because yeah, that's the thing with like Mel Gibson is that you can just throw him in kind of a crappy action movie and he's just Mel Gibson. He just has this charisma and this like he
yeah,
himself is just like bigger than life in a way, so he can just
yes,
like elevate, yeah, like Bloodfather.
yeah,
Otherwise that would be a total crap movie, but I do like that movie. That is a good movie. And
yeah,
even Get the Gringo,
exactly.
Edge of Darkness I didn't like quite as much as those two, but yeah, it does definitely have that same charm to it. So I totally get that. So there
Absolutely.
we go. Part three,
Yeah.
starring Mel Gibson, directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah,
You
there we
got
go. I'm on board, man. I am on board.
okay. So you keep Josh Brolin, keep Benicio, bring back
Yeah.
Emily Blunt, and throw in Mel Gibson.
Mhm.
Okay, this will
Oh
be
my
great.
God. This is a movie. This is a movie. I'm ordering my popcorn in advance with Adam tickets.
Yeah.
Well, my final puzzle piece is actually something you were just touching on when you were responding there,
Hmm.
and that is actually direct to video sequels to otherwise big movies,
Right.
like to big Hollywood movies. And now let me just clarify this. And again, I mentioned this earlier. I'm going to talk about it when we close up here in a minute. I like this movie. I didn't
Right.
love it. It's nothing compared to the original. But I definitely liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun despite the bleakness and everything. I love the performances. There was a lot of great action in it, I thought. But like I've said a couple of times throughout this conversation, it's just a movie that doesn't need to exist in the same way that a lot of I mean, I could go down the list right now, but it's not even necessary. I think anybody who's listening probably knows what I mean when I say direct to video sequels to movies that were big hits.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's just so many of them, and you'll like, especially back in the day, like browsing the shelves at
Hmm.
Blockbuster or something. I guess
Hmm.
nowadays it would be the on-demand menus or whatever, but. And you'd be like, when did they make a sequel to that? And then you look and you're like, oh, no one involved with the original
Right.
was
Right.
in it. And
Right.
of course, this does still have the same writer. It still has two of the main actors, but it doesn't have the main actress, Emily Blunt. It doesn't have the director. It doesn't have the DP. Doesn't have the composer, which, by the way, the
Right.
original Sicario had probably the best score of the last decade. And they bring back a couple of the themes, but still, I mean, rest in peace, Johan. But
Right, right.
without him on board, it's just not the same. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies where it's like how exactly do you make the sequel without everybody coming back?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just something. It's something that happens in this industry where they do it anyway.
Yeah. And the guy from Get Out, I always forget his name, Daniel Kaluuya.
Kahlua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the first one. And
That's right. I forgot about that he was in that. Yeah.
the other, he died, but the first one was packed with people because
Oh yeah.
John Bernthal, his character died, but he was in there. There was just like a
Mhm.
lot of really, really great moments in that movie, and a lot of great actors. I mean, this one, the leads are great, and the girl is great as well in this movie.
Yeah.
No knocks against this at all for the acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a kind of one of those sequels that it's like, did we really need a sequel here?
Yeah.
And when they first announced that it was going to be a sequel, that's what I thought. I didn't think anybody was going to be in, and then it would just be a straight to, video, whatever you want to call it these days, sequel. That just somehow was kind of ripping off the first one, which this one does do that, though. It does. There are moments where it's like, almost where it's like paying, it's nodding to the original with the way the scene is goes down, or there's just little moments here and there, which kind of irritated me in a way with this kind of movie because of how serious of a movie, it is. But yeah, it definitely is one of those that's like, did we need a second one?
No, absolutely. So I guess it's time for the finished puzzle. I'm going to go down the list of all the movies that we just discussed here about Sicario, the movies that make up Sicario, Day of the Soldado. So we've got No Country for Old Men. We've got the films of Catherine Bigelow, especially Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker, and Detroit. There Will Be Blood, The Dark Knight, Desierto, Children of Men, late era Mel Gibson movies like Edge of Darkness and Bloodfather and Get the Gringo. We've got Missing, and we've got, as an idea, we've got Donald Trump's America. and then we've got sequels of big hits that do not have all of the people involved from the original. Usually they go straight to video.
And don't forget Desperado.
Oh yeah, Desperado and Desperado. Absolutely.
We also basically tried to get in, I think, every movie that ended in O.
Yes.
You've got Sicario, and then Desperado.
Yes.
Get
absolutely.
the Gringo. Desierto. So yeah. I knew I would butcher lots of Spanish words here. So,
so to wrap it up, like I said, I did like this movie. I don't think it had any reason to exist, but I think that once it gets going, it's like a really solid thriller. I think there's a lot of great performances, and I like, and I don't know exactly if it followed the same structure with your screening, but I like how just off the rails it goes at the end with Benicio del Toro. Yeah, I mean, I like
the off the rail. See, that's kind of to me, kind of was, it kind of got silly. That's where,
no, it did get silly.
So that's why I kind of like, it kind of made me not respect it more in a way, because I'm like, really? I mean, there were some really, really wacky, silly things that happened that we could go into, but I don't even think it's really a point to really go into spoiling. But yeah, just the way that, I don't know. I don't even know that if his character even stays the same at all. And then also, it's like, is he like non-human? I mean,
I don't think he is.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, like I said, it almost really kind of turns into a Robert Rodriguez movie,
Right.
with the double crossing, and then also with just that. Just the way things, I don't know. I'm actually shocked in a way that it was the same writer. I'm not a big fan. I always forget his name because
Taylor
I'm not a.
Sheridan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually in a way kind of surprised that that he did write this. But I mean, obviously, he just was like, I'm just gonna have fun. Kind of. I mean, it's almost like he was like, really, you want a
Yeah.
sequel?
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree 100%. 100%. That's what I think happened. I think he said, "What, really?" And he's just like, "All right, I'm gonna make a freaking Benicio del Toro as a fucking force of nature movie." And but by the way, when that scene that we've been kind of tiptoeing around there and not spoiling, even though most people have seen it by the time they listen to this, but
Right.
when that happens, someone in the theater said, "What the fuck?" And then like everyone in the theater started laughing and going, "No way!" And like the whole theater was talking out loud at full volume through that whole scene, which was
Which is
actually, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's kind of fun, like, as a theatrical experience.
which is exactly what people do when they see a movie like Planet Terror in a theater. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so.
So
100%.
again, they I hope somebody, I hope the studio hears this podcast, because I do want to see Mel Gibson in the movie, and I want to see
Yes.
Robert Rodriguez direct it. But I think Robert Rodriguez would need to write it as well to really just go start from where it went and just go more off the rails.
Sicario in space.
So.
All right. Well, Chad, thanks again for being here. And anything you want to plug before we get going?
No, I'm good.
Good?
I'm glad to be back on the show. And I really don't like dislike that many movies. So I hope that if anybody's tuning in for the first time, they don't think, man, this guy just hates everything, because it's not true.
Yeah, no, in fact, Chad loves everything for the most part. So yeah, this is a unique one for the show and for Chad. So yeah.
This is Jay.
Aaron.
And Richard.
And we're the VCR Kids. We rewatch movies from our childhood.
They're mostly from the 80s and 90s.
And we decide whether or not it holds up.
Look up the VCR Kids on your favorite podcatcher and check out some of our past episodes.
We've watched Hook, All Dogs Go to Heaven, The Mighty Ducks, and more.
And check out our special episodes where we watch Harry Potter with our friend who has never seen them.
Search for the VCR Kids today. We'll talk at you soon.
I don't think Sicario would have been the kind of movie that they'd cover on the VCR Kids, but the VCR Kids is a great show. I listened to an episode just the other day, and totally reminded me of if me and Chad were to sit down and finally watch Harry Potter together. But yeah, great show. Go check it out for sure. And I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope you go out and check out Sicario Day of the Soldado. It's definitely a movie worth seeing, and I hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure to get in touch with us. You can, like I said, tweet at us at PiecingPod. You can join our Facebook group, Piecing It Together, a movie discussion group. Also, check out our website, piecingpod.com. You can get signed up for our mailing list. We're going to start doing some really cool giveaways and prizes and stuff. So you're definitely going to want to be signed up for that mailing list. So what else we got coming up here? Well, we got gonna have another episode right next week. Probably just one a week for the rest of July, but we are gonna be continuing to make more episodes every week. Also, I'm gonna be traveling to the Podcast Movement Convention in Philadelphia. I'm going with Q, my co-host on Bird Road, who also runs this All Points West network, and we're going together to go do some networking. He's going to be actually speaking at the convention, and I'll probably end up in that speech at some point in some way. We're also going to be doing meetup for political podcasters and anyone interested in politics. You can check out a link to that in the show notes and also on our Facebook. I'm also hoping to do a movie podcaster meetup. So if you're listening to this and you're a movie podcaster, or you're just going to be in Philadelphia in late July during podcast movement, let me know, because I want to gauge some interest and try to set something up. I think it would be a lot of fun for a bunch of movie or entertainment loving podcasters to all get together and talk movies, and maybe we'll do something for the show with it. So definitely get in touch. And aside from that, rate and review the show, leave us some feedback, make sure you're subscribed, and I will talk to you guys next week on another new episode of Piecing It Together. And as I leave you now, I'm going to leave you with a song called Bandwidth from my first album, Echoes in the Dark.
and all points west.